Donald Trump one-on-one. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The candidate joins me for a one-on-one, no-holds-barred interview on the day he tops our brand new poll in New Hampshire, and he's got the biggest endorsement of the race so far. So, is the Trump campaign confident tonight? You betcha.
Are you ready to stump for Trump? I'm here to support the next president of the United States of America.
But with 12 days to go until Iowa, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are neck and neck. Will Sarah Palin help him there? Will conservative voters flock to Trump? Well, tonight, the man who says this.
We're going to make our country great again. We're going to win. We're going to win. And we're going to win.
Joining me now on the phone is Donald Trump. Hello, Mr. Trump.
How are you, Don?
I'm well, and you're well as well, because I know that you loved the polls and this brand new poll, because I think you tweeted out you were happy with CNN. You thanked us for the poll. This CNN WMUR poll tonight, this first in New Hampshire. Our new poll shows that you have a 20-point lead over Ted Cruz. Only a third of the voters say that they've made up their minds, though, so things could change. But what's your reaction?
Well, I even heard it was 21 points. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was like a 21-point lead. That's a pretty big lead, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big lead. I'm very happy about it. It's a very respected poll, and I've done really well in New Hampshire. I love the people of New Hampshire, and we've done really great there. So I'm very honored by it.
So you're at 34, Cruz is at 14, Bush is at 10%. Are you surprised that Bush it seems that he's now doing better in the polls?
Well, I don't think he's going to do well. He spent $79 million. He's a low-energy person. It's not what the country needs. The last thing we need is another Bush. And the only reason I speak badly about him, because I almost feel sorry for him, frankly, the only reason is that he spends millions and millions of dollars on negative ads about me. Otherwise, I wouldn't even talk, because he's at the back of the pack. So, he's not doing well. I mean, probably in New Hampshire a little bit better, but nationwide he's doing almost nothing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, can you imagine spending $79 million, and I've spent almost nothing. Now I'm going to start spending money because I feel guilty. Yeah. So I'm going to start spending money. And I don't want to take any chances either, by the way. But he spent $79 million, and he's toward the back of the pack. It's ridiculous.
Let's look now at the matchups. There are other polls out now, and it's a matchups between Hillary Clinton and the other candidates, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders. And again, this survey is of New Hampshire voters, Mr. Trump. You lose to both of them, though, and you really lose to Hillary Clinton. I'm sure you don't like that much. What's your reaction to that?
Well, in the Fox poll, I beat her very easily by a lot. And, that came out a couple of weeks ago, and in the Fox poll and in a couple of other polls, I beat her. I haven't even focused on them yet, Don. What I'm focusing on Bernie Sanders, I mean, the guy's a wacko. I think that Bernie Sanders would be very easy to beat. I can't even imagine that he wins, and I'm not sure that she's going to be allowed to run, because based on all that's going on with the emails and everything that's happened, especially over the last couple of weeks, I can't imagine she'd be allowed to run. So maybe a third person comes in. Who knows? But we are, as soon as I focus on them, I'm sure I'll do very well. But the Fox poll has me, as you know, winning very substantially. So I'm sure I'll be able to do very well against either one of them.
So since you brought that up, let's talk about this. Hillary Clinton's emails are in the news again today, because today you said that she is trying to avoid the clink. Now, that was your comment. You also called Bernie Sanders, as you just said, a wacko or a whack job. CNN is going to host this Democratic town hall on Monday night. What would you ask Clinton and Sanders?
Well, I think I'd really talk to Clinton about her emails and say, how would you be so stupid to have done such a thing? This shows such bad judgment. How can a person running for president and wanting to be president show this kind of judgment? And historically, she's had this judgment, whether it's Whitewater or, it's always something. It's always something traumatic, and that's bad judgment. I think with Bernie Sanders, I'd say, did you make a mistake when you so easily, in order to get a good soundbite, gave up on the emails? Because he really did, in my opinion, made a very serious mistake. I mean, really a big one.
You think there is some there with the emails? You think that there's something that's prosecutable?
I think most people do. Look, I think most people do. I think that she, frankly, is far more guilty than Petraeus and all of these other people that have had their lives destroyed. And by the way, while we're on it, I hope they leave Petraeus alone. I mean, I hope they're not going to damage him any more than he's already been damaged. They're talking about reducing his status, reducing his rank.
Demoting him, right.
I really think, Don, that he's really had enough and he's suffered enough without having to do more to him. He's gone through the mill. And we have ISIS to fight. We have
let me ask you
all these
this.
trade deals that are so horrible. We don't have to go and further destroy General Petraeus.
So then what is the difference? And if you're saying, because General Petraeus is accused of sharing classified information with a mistress, and you're saying Hillary Clinton shared classified information, he was found guilty of it. And if she shared classified information from a server that you deem, or people are saying deems not to be legal, then what is the difference there? Why should he be left alone and she be prosecuted?
Well, what I'm saying is she should be prosecuted, and he was. I mean, he went through the ringer. He was really prosecuted, and what happened with him was suspended sentences and everything else, and it's been terrible. And she hasn't had anything yet. So we're going to have to see whether or not the Democrats are protecting her, because I think anybody else in that position would have been prosecuted long ago. And when you speak to experts on the matter, when you speak to lawyers that do nothing but this, they can't believe that it's gone on so long and that nothing's happened to her.
Yeah. Okay, let's focus on Iowa right now, because the big news was you and Sarah Palin. What was it like with Sarah Palin on the campaign trail for the first time today?
Well, it was terrific. We had 15,000 people. We had to send away 5,000 people. You saw the arena today. I hope you saw the arena.
I did.
But
it was full.
Massive. It was it was incredible. Every seat packed. I mean, literally 5,000 people sent away. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go back to take care of those 5,000 people. Oklahoma has been unbelievable. Iowa has been unbelievable. Every place. I mean, no matter where we go, it's like love. There's love in the room, and it's been incredible. They want to see, the theme is Make America Great Again. That's what they want to see, and that's what we're going to do. But the crowds that we're getting, and by the way, as you know, far bigger than anybody else by a lot. Now, Bernie Sanders, I will tell you, is second, but he's a distant second. The crowds that we have, it's a movement. It's actually a movement.
So
it's a beautiful thing to see.
I have interviewed you enough, and I've watched you with other people, and I can tell, I think I can, when you're comfortable and when you're not with certain interviewers, and even if you're comfortable with an interview with me. And I watched the speech last night. Everybody was riveted by that. But you did seem to be uncomfortable. Other people have said it. Am I wrong? Are they wrong? Were you uncomfortable there for a bit watching Sarah Palin?
No, not at all. No, I was there. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be quite that long, but she made a beautiful, she made a very good speech. No, I wasn't uncomfortable. I was very happy. I would have normally left the stage and let her speak, but I thought it would be nice. I thought it would be, frankly, nice if I was there. I thought it would be disrespectful to her if I left the stage. So, no, I wasn't uncomfortable at all.
Here's what Rush Limbaugh said. Take a listen to this.
I saw Trump standing aside while she was at the podium, and he's not the kind of guy that stands aside. He just isn't. He's that dominant. He is that huge to give up the podium, even to somebody endorsing him, sponsoring him. I'm not criticizing it. Don't anybody misunderstand. I'm just telling you what I think here. Do with it what you want.
What's your reaction, Mr. Trump?
Well, I love Rush. I think he's an amazing guy, and he's been so supportive. And I understand a couple of people have actually told me that, and then some people thought it was really nice because it showed respect. So, I guess it's a flip of a coin. Probably if I left, people would have said, oh, gee, why did he leave the stage? That wasn't very nice. But I understand exactly what they're saying, and I understand Rush. And, by the way, really like Rush.
I think the thing is what they're saying is that you happen to be reality stars. I mean, come on, you were, The Apprentice. That was all you. You sort of, created reality television in some way, right? You set a precedent is a better way to do it. She had a reality show. You both happen to be politicians. And I think that what people are saying is he's used to the spotlight. She's now in the spotlight. Is that uncomfortable for Donald Trump?
Well, I thought it was great. Look, she wanted me to. I mean, it was an amazing thing because she wanted to endorse me, and she let it be known. And I was actually really impressed. And I've had a great relationship with her for a long time, but the fact that she chose me over many others. I mean, because frankly,
over Ted
everybody
Cruz.
wanted that endorsement. Sarah's endorsement is a very powerful endorsement, especially in certain areas like Iowa.
Yeah.
And they wanted that. And by the way, you saw the crowd reaction today in Oklahoma to Sarah. So it was a very important endorsement. And, I was just very honored that she wanted to do that.
Oh, I'm glad
she didn't want anything. She didn't come up and say, oh, I'd like to do this, I'd like to have that. She wanted nothing. She just wants what's good. She loves the country, and she really wants She wants what's good for the country done, which is really nice.
You said she wanted nothing. She spoke with my colleague Jake Tapper in September, and she said energy secretary, what have you. But there was no negotiating over, if she would join your campaign, what might happen.
No, zero. I mean, she'll work with the campaign probably, but I mean, in terms of if I win, will she want a job or some kind of a thing? Zero. Absolutely not even discussed. And I mean, it's frankly very impressive that she doesn't discuss it. But every one of the candidates wanted her endorsement. Okay. And in particular, Ted Cruz, who right now is having tremendous difficulty. I mean, he's got a loan problem where, as you know, he didn't, on his financial disclosure form, he didn't list that he borrowed a lot of money from Goldman Sachs and from Citibank. That's a big thing when you sign a financial disclosure form. You're signing a very important document. You're giving it to the government. And he didn't list two major institutions that he's borrowed money and that he's guaranteeing. And he knew he borrowed it. So he said, oh, well, I guess I forgot about it or something. I mean, that's not so easy. My financial disclosure was the longest in the history of the, of the world in terms of what we're filing. It was almost 100 pages, and nobody complained about it. It's been gone over by you and every other reporter from here to Asia, and nobody complained about it. Well, let's close to 100 pages. He had a very small financial disclosure. He had two banks. Maybe he's got more than that. I don't know. Yeah. But he always goes on the side of the banks, and we're going to protect the people. He's always talking about the banks. Well, the people didn't know that he was borrowing money from Goldman Sachs and from Citibank.
Well, he says if it needs to be, he will fix it. If it needs to be,
sure,
he will send it. He will resend it. We have got much more ahead with Donald Trump. When we come right back, why he says Ted Cruz is the one who doesn't have the temperament to be president.
We are going to win so much. We're going to have win after win after win. You people are going to get sick and tired of winning. You're going to say, please, please, President Trump, we can't take this much victory. Please stop. We don't want any more wins. And I'm going to say to you, we're going to win. I don't care what you say. We're going to make our country great again. We're going to win. We're going to win. And we're going to win.
I want to talk to you about Ted Cruz today because he said the Washington establishment is abandoning Marco Rubio because they've decided that he can't win this race and the establishment is rushing over to you because you'll cut deals with them and the Democrats. Are you getting more establishment support, and is that good for your campaign? Is he right?
Well, I didn't know that he was saying that, and I didn't know that they were abandoning Marco, to be honest with you, and I'm just doing my campaign, and we're getting by far the biggest crowds. We're getting by far the biggest poll numbers. He's very concerned because his poll numbers are going down. He looks very, very nervous, actually, and his poll numbers are going down drastically, and you see the ones that just came out. I mean, we have tremendous numbers. I don't know if you saw the one that just came out in Florida, the big one. I'm at 48, and they're at very small numbers, and, just very small by comparison, very, very small numbers. And he sees what's going on. I think I'm going to do very well in Iowa. I hope so. I'm doing fantastically with the evangelicals and the Tea Party. And, I'm doing very well. I think we're going to have a really good time in Iowa also.
One more thing on Ted Cruz. Here's what else he said.
Well, listen, it is exactly right that in terms of who I am, I'm a Christian first, I'm an American second, I'm a conservative third, and I'm a Republican fourth. And I'll tell you, there are a whole lot of people in this country that feel exactly the same way, that are fed up with Republican leadership.
Okay, so Christian first, American second, and then he goes on conservative Republican in that order. Is that who that's who he says he is? So who is Donald Trump? Would you put it in that order?
Well, at some point, I think he should add his family. I mean, he forgot to add his family. I mean, does he have his family in that group?
He did not. So he said he was a Christian first.
Well, I think you ought to ask him, what about your family? Where do they come in? Do they come in fifth? So I think that's probably something that he slipped up on. Hey, look, I am somebody that is going to do something really good for the country. We owe $19 trillion with that horrible budget that was just approved, which is horrible and disgraceful, approved by the Republicans. Things are in that budget that would, including bringing Syrians in, which should never, ever be allowed to happen. We don't know where they come from, et cetera, including bringing people through the border, including funding Obamacare. There are so many things that are happening in that budget. I cannot believe that the Republican leadership, frankly, would have approved that budget. But that budget's going to take us to $21 trillion in a very short period of time. We're already at $19 trillion. This country needs help. It needs leadership done, and it needs it fast. And Ted is not the right guy. Hasn't got the temperament. Look, everybody dislikes him. He's a nasty guy that everybody dislikes. And he's got another problem, Don, that you haven't mentioned yet, but he was born in Canada.
Well, I'm going to mention that. I'm going to mention that.
I
had someone else on from the New York Times who said the same thing, that people who work with Ted Cruz, and this is according to him, said that they don't like him for some reason. But
nobody likes him.
Let's talk about this poll. Let's talk about this.
That's wonderful to go and tell the voters nobody likes you, but you're going to have to make deals. You're going to have to get these senators and congressmen and all of these people. You have to cajole them. You have to we got to make deals. We can't always sign executive orders. You can't do it. That wasn't the way our founders set up this country. You understand that. It's not part of the deal. You're supposed to get everybody together, and you're supposed to come up with deals, and everybody, whether it's Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, however it works out, you have to make deals. Now,
what is it about his temperament that people don't like?
They don't like him. He didn't have one senator stick up for him recently, because now people are saying he has a real problem with running, because he was born in Canada. He was born in Canada, and he was a citizen of Canada till 15 months ago, and he said he didn't know that. So he didn't know about his loans. He didn't know about Goldman Sachs and Citi. He didn't know that he was a citizen of Canada, and now he's running for president. He's got a real problem because he was born in Canada, and there are people, and very, very great constitutional lawyers, and I'm not only talking about Professor Tribe from Harvard, Lawrence Tribe, I'm talking about many others that say he should not be and cannot be running for president because he doesn't qualify under the guidelines, and that's the way it is. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I can tell you this. He should go and ask for a declaratory judgment from the courts, because the last thing the Republicans need, and frankly, the last thing Ted needs, is to be running for office and then to be disqualified.
Well, it's interesting because this is showing up in the polling, Mr. Trump. And this is in this new Monmouth University poll. It's out today. It shows you with a big national lead, 36% to 17%, which for Ted Cruz, 11% for Marco Rubio.
I didn't know about that.
But there is
You tell me about polls I don't even know about. That just came out, I guess.
But there's another interesting result that goes along with what you're saying. A third of Republican voters, a third of them are questioning Ted Cruz's eligibility for president. You think that's due to your very public discussion on this issue?
Well, I understand why they would. And by the way, I'm not, this was a question posed to me
by the Washington Post.
A week and a half ago by the Washington Post, okay?
Yeah.
It was one of 10 questions. Do I think that he has to, and I said, I don't know. And that's a big problem when you say you don't know. We will find out someday. As you know, it's been untested. Nobody really knows, and that's a problem. Supposing he were the nominee, the Democrats are going to sue. And by the way, two people have already sued, as I understand. There are already suits out there. So two people, Don, have already sued. This is a huge problem. So how can the Republicans pick somebody where there's a very substantial chance that he's not allowed to run for president?
Can we get back? I want to get back to, because I think that issue, it's going to have to be resolved one way or the other, and we'll see how it plays out. But
I think the best way for him to resolve it is to go to court and ask for what's called a declaratory judgment, so that the courts clear up the matter.
Okay.
Because unless they clear it up, nobody knows if he has the legal standing to run for president.
So you said this was a question from the Washington Post, but you have been, and as you said, you care about him, and that's why you don't want there to be any question about whether he's eligible to be president.
I don't care about him. I care about the country.
Okay.
I care about the country. I also care about the party. And he's going to have to clear that up. And many people right now, many people are saying that is a problem. I didn't know this was in this poll that you just say came out. But if you say 36% of the people are concerned about it, that's a lot of people that are concerned. And this is just an issue that just really started recently. But, Don, He was born in Canada, and he was a Canadian citizen until 15 months ago.
But do you think that's part of the reason it's polling this way is because you are leading on this, that you have been front and center on this public discussion about it?
No, because I'm not making an opinion. I'm not saying he's right or wrong or he has the right to do it or not to do it. I'm just saying it's something that's going to be – it's untested. It's untested. The Supreme Court has not ruled. You have many, many lawyers out there, great constitutional lawyers. I listened to one the other day on television where she was saying, a very highly respected person, she was saying he does not have the right to run for president because he was not born on the land.
Okay. All right. So listen, let's move on to talk about you again. Okay. You mentioned Oklahoma and Sarah Palin. You said today she had a great reception. In Tulsa this afternoon, she spoke about her son Track's domestic violence arrest on Monday night, implying that it might have something to do with his combat-related trauma, and she criticized the president's policies dealing with that. Did you ask her to address her son's arrest?
I told her it would be absolutely fine. I thought it would be appropriate. There was tremendous press, and I think it's something that's very important to discuss, not even for her son, but for so many other sons and daughters that are coming back from the Middle East where they have, traumatic problems. They have tremendous problems. And I told her, I actually suggested it. I said I think it would be a great forum. And I know she started the dialogue. I think it's a very important dialogue because she told me that they're coming back. So many are coming back, and they're under tremendous pressure and tremendous strain. There's no question about it.
Do you think it's fair to link the president with her son's issues?
Oh, I think so. Look, everything starts at the top. He's the president, and I think you can certainly do that. From what I understand, and all you have to do is look at the Veterans Administration, look at the horrible care our vets get. One of the many things I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten that mess out. You take a look at the Phoenix Veterans Administration in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a disgrace. It's a cesspool. It's dishonest. It's corrupt in every way. It's incompetent. But more, frankly, I think it's more dishonest than incompetent. But you look at this is true all over the country. And I think it's a good thing. And you have to say, ultimately, it's the president's charge. It's the president's responsibility. He has to make sure that the Veterans Administration works, and it doesn't. Our vets are being treated horribly.
That has to do with our veterans' care, health care. Let's talk about the economy now, because as the president, people would look to you to find out what's happening with the economy. This is the worst start to a year on record for the stock market, Mr. Trump. The stock market closed down 250 points today, recovering from a 500-point drop earlier. What do you think is going to ease the fears of investors?
I think if you have a great president and somebody that's a proven leader and somebody that knows business like I do, I think it's going to greatly help. Look, it's the worst start to a year in our country's history. It's down unbelievably. I have friends that are being wiped out. I have friends that are fairly substantial people that are being wiped out. Now, I will say this. I've never been a stock guy. I've never been a stock picker. I've never really been into that, and I never like when other people run my companies, okay? It's one of those things.
You're real estate.
I was never much of a stock guy. I never, really did it much. I'm not a believer. A number of years ago, I bought a tremendous amount of stock, and about a year ago, I sold it all. So I should get credit. And I'll show you the stocks if you want. I'll give you a whole list of them. I bought them, I sold them, made a lot of money, and I sold. And I should be getting a certain credit for vision.
Have them send it over. We'll take a look at it.
You can be the one. I've never done this. I did this just because I thought that the money was free. The interest rates were so low. The money was free, so the market had to go up because it was free money. Yeah. Now all of a sudden we're finding out the money's not so free. Some people are having many people are having a hard time getting it. And the stock market is semi-crashing. Let's see what happens.
And when we come right back, Donald Trump weighs in on the toxic tap water in Flint, Michigan, and who he thinks is to blame.
I am very proud of what I've done as president. But the only job that's more important to me is the job of father. And I know that if I was a parent up there, I would be beside myself that my kid's health could be at risk.
So as a president, you're going to have to comment on many things. The president commented on this today. So I want to ask you about this water crisis in Flint, Michigan. Last night, Republican Governor Rick Snyder said that in his state of the state, quote, this is his state of the state, he said, no citizen of this great state should endure this kind of catastrophe. Government failed you. Federal, state, and local leaders by breaking the trust you placed in us. And then today, again, President Obama said that as a parent, he would be beside himself over his kid's health if he were there. So what is your reaction to what's going on in Flint? Should Governor Snyder step down?
Well, I think it's a horrible thing, and it's it's just a horrible example of bad government. Now, they were having the water from its other location, and they were doing fine, and somebody came up with this horrible idea of going to the River Flint or whatever, and the water was unbelievably, atrociously dirty and disgusting. And it's hard to believe that before they hooked into the new river or the new water supply, they wouldn't have tested the water. They couldn't test it adequately. So EPA, we talk about Environmental Protection Agency. They are really guilty of horror show. I hear that the council, whoever the council may have been, they wanted to make this switch too. And, in all fairness, I'm watching the governor, and I can see he's going through a lot, and it's not easy for him. But he seems to be taking the full blame for everything when, in fact, I know you had a lot of different groups involved, including the local council and probably
Should he step down, though?
That wanted to do it.
Should he step down?
I don't know the situation well enough. I think it's a very difficult situation. Certainly, it's leading to catastrophe. It's one of the really bad things that I've heard of.
Yeah.
But you do say this, Don. Where is EPA? We talk about the Environmental Protection Agency. Where are they when they're doing this? Can't somebody check the water before they start pumping it into people's homes and down into people's stomachs and into the stomachs of beautiful children who now may be, they may be scarred for life. Hopefully that won't happen.
What would you do about it now if you were the president?
Where is everybody? There's more than just him. Yes, he's responsible, but EPA is responsible. I believe that the council at the time and the mayor at the time is also responsible. There are a lot of people responsible for this. This is a horrible thing. It's incompetence. It's bad management. And it really is a very bad mark on government.
So before we move on, I just want to add, what would you do right now if you were the president about this situation in Flint?
Well, all he can do is get the funds to clean it up and get it done quickly because you can't have people drinking this garbage, and it should have never taken place.
Okay.
And a very simple thing, all you had to do is check the water, and you could have found out. It almost sounds like they didn't check the water until after the water is being pumped into people's homes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of incompetence to go around here, and it's a very sad circumstance. I hate seeing it.
Can we talk about this? Because you've gotten a lot of guff for this, and I've had plenty of your supporters on who defend you and other people who are saying, oh my gosh, it's a screw up. Monday at Liberty University, you said 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians. You also said hell, which is in violation of the university student code of conduct. What happened? What do you think of this whole controversy?
Well, I think it's okay. I think it was fine. We've had a number of people, and my mother was from Scotland, and in Europe and in the UK, they actually say 2. They say 2 Corinthians, and a number of people have pointed this out. And it was not a big deal. I'm surprised you're even asking the question. It's a very small deal. But a lot of people in different sections of the world say 2, and I've had many, many people say that to me. And my mother, as you know, was from Scotland, and they would have said 2. And frankly, Tony Perkins wrote that out for me because Tony thought it would be great. He knew I was going to Liberty. He has a great respect for Liberty. And Tony Perkins is a very, very good guy. And he actually wrote out 2. He wrote out the number 2 Corinthians, which I could show you very nicely if you'd like. And I called Tony, and he said, no, well, I meant 2nd. But he wrote out the letter 2. And he was the one that actually was, somebody I do respect a lot and like a lot. And he liked me to say this. He wanted me to talk about exactly what we're talking about, Corinthians. And so what I did is I took exactly what Tony said, and I said, well, Tony has to know better than anybody, and that's the way it is. If you'd like, I'd show that to you, and it's one of those things. But, in different parts of the world, they do say 2. and in parts of Scotland, as I understand it, they say
And
too.
you still
I've
have
heard it. And by the way, I have to tell you, Don, I've heard it both ways, and it was a very small deal. What you're not saying is that they had the biggest crowd in the history of.
You have
Liberty
big support
University.
among evangelicals. So I mean, and everyone who's come
No,
on
wait
to
a minute. They had the biggest crowd in the history of Liberty, as you know, of Liberty University, which is an amazing place.
Yeah.
The biggest crowd in their history. Dr. Jerry Falwell is an incredible guy, and he made the most beautiful introductory speech. And when I finished, I got a standing ovation. You forgot to say those things.
No, just you said them, so I didn't have to.
No,
I want to
good.
ask you about this because I saw this comment from you earlier, and I was actually surprised that you did comment on it. And this is a whole thing that's going on with the Oscars, and some people are saying that they're going to boycott it. Someone said, one of the commentators on Fox today said, either we want to have segregation or integration. You weighed in on that, said, I never thought about it that way. And then you went on to say that it would certainly be nice for everyone if everybody could be represented. What do you make of the situation with the Oscars and diversity and the possibility of a boycott?
Well, I think it's a shame, and I hope there's not going to be a boycott. I think it's a shame. But I have seen over the years many African Americans and people that I know and really like a lot, both as actors and people that I know and just respect. I've seen many people that are African American receive Oscars. But I don't know what happened this year. It seems that this year it's maybe a different story.
And the year before.
The head of the Academy, I believe, is a African American. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's a woman. She is. She's a woman of color.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very well. I haven't been following it very closely, but I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that this has to, that it has to come to this, where there seems to be great animosity, and too bad. It shouldn't come to this, I feel.
Donald Trump. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. Great honor.
So let's talk about all this now. I want to bring in Gloria Borgia, who